my name is Elizabeth Preschuk, and this is my video response for Task 2, Explain and Model Lower Elementary Math. So the task my kindergartners worked on today was there were 7 apples in a bowl. There were 10 apples on a tray. Mackenzie says that there are less apples in the bowl than on the tray. Is Mackenzie correct? Show and tell me how. The standard for this task is K.CC.6, which asks students directly to identify whether one group has more, less, or the same number of objects as another group. Students can do this by matching strategies or counting strategies. And when looking at Davy's work, I see clear evidence of progress. Davy used drawings to represent both groups, 7 apples and 10 apples. His picture showed 1-to-1 correspondence, and he counted each set carefully. By drawing both groups and comparing the totals, Davy demonstrated an understanding that 10 is greater than 7, which is exactly the comparison skills the K.CC.6 expects from the students. Then in Danny's work, I see another strong example of progress. Danny drew the pictures to represent the apples, and she labeled her drawings with numbers. She counted each group and clearly showed that 10 is more than 7. Her work shows connecting quantity to written numbers, which is an important step in number sense development, especially for kindergartners. And both students were using correct strategies and correctly determining which group is greater. Feedback to one student. I would like to give feedback to Danny, and I think this is like something that I would say is, Danny, I really liked how you showed each apple as a circle and counted them carefully. I can tell you were thinking and making sure that you had the right amount in each group. You also wrote the number 7 and 10 to match your drawings, which shows that you understand the total in each group. Can you tell me how many more apples are on the tray than the bowl? And could you match each apple in the bowl with one of them on the tray, and how can you help me find the difference? I feel like this feedback is helpful because it confirms her thinking, so she feels confident that she did well in the assignment. It pushes her thinking deeper, which is encouraging her to explore the idea of how many more, which builds comparison reasoning. It invites Danny to use a new strategy, which is matching the apples rather than recounting them. It supports the development of mathematical identity because it positions her to someone who's already thinking like a mathematician, you could say that, and build her confidence even more. And so now, since I want to build on her drawings, I can show her, we can compare 7 and 10, and the graph that I chose my representation that I chose was a 10 frame. I feel like using a 10 frame tool with the website given to us, it was very beneficial because it gives another representation and another strategy for our student. So first I filled the 10 frame with the 10 counters, and then I showed the 10 frame with 7 counters. And when the students look at these 10 frames, they can immediately notice that the 10 frame that has 10 counters is completely full, and that the 10 frame with 7 counters has 3 empty spaces. So the student would be able to visually see that 3 is missing, and that can help with her mathematical reasoning. And then this is that's what I did. So then Danny would be able to see that there's 3 left. 3 left on the 10 frame. Put this back. Okay. So I feel like the 10 frame helps children visually compare the 2 groups without recounting them, and they can see the difference between the empty spaces and how far exactly you need to get from 7 to 10 spaces filled on the 10 frame. Using a number line, let's say comparing 7 and 10 on the number line, if I mark 7 on the number line and then mark 10, students can count forward 3 spots, 1 jump, 2 jump, and 3 jumps. So the distance between 7 and 10 is 3. And this shows that the student, that 10 is 3 more than 7, and 7 is 3 less than 10. This helps the student understand comparison as the distance between the numbers, which is a foundational concept for the future, or for future addition and subtraction. And especially within field, being in a kindergarten class, my students use 10 frames quite often. It is a great tool to use to show your reasoning and to like visually represent what you're trying to do in the classroom. So to summarize, both Davy and Danny showed strong progress on our standard by accurately drawing, counting, and comparing both of the groups together. I provided feedback to Danny to support her strengths and her next steps in understanding comparison. And then I modeled how a 10 frame, and I showed visual representation of the 10 frame, and I also explained the number line to compare 7 and 10 using the visual tools. And that's my task too. Thank you for watching.